will destroy them all.
Hello and welcome to The Coordinate, an Attack on Titan podcast coming to you from my car today. So if you hear lots of weird noises, it's because I'm recording in my car in a parking lot on an airport next to a construction site. Yeah, maybe it'll sound perfect. Anyways, I'm Tyler, and this week we're breaking down episode 65 of Attack on Titan, the Warhammer Titan. Also, at the end of this episode, I think I'm going to talk about chapter 136 a little bit if I have time, of the manga. So, I'll be sure to give you lots of warning before I spoil anything, so no worries there if you're not caught up. But anyways, so before we get into things, let's deal with Bill. So if you're a new listener, me and my friend Bill alternate talking about the show every week. And last week, Bill asked me a few questions, including, how does Willie know Eren has the founding Titan? And, well, Bill, in the episode you found super boring Midnight Train, Zeke hatches a plan to regain the founding Titan and take over Paradise, which will help Marley's military power remain dominant a little bit longer. Part of that plan involves getting the rest of the world to see Paradise as a threat again, for some reason. I don't know if it's to get the rest of the world to back off of Marley, or if they actually want their help fighting them. But anyways, Zeke tells the warriors that they will use the Tiber's influence with the wider world to achieve that. And if you remember, Reiner and Zeke experienced firsthand Eren using the power of the founding Titan when he punched his mom's Titan, and all those other Titans attacked them. I think Zeke was there at least. I can't really remember. Anyways, I'm sure they revealed that information to the Marley generals and etc. and the Tibers. Willie also says in this episode that the Tibers have been keeping tabs on Paradise, so it's possible they somehow have spies there. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a recent update, or maybe they've always had spies there. Grisha snuck in, sort of. Anywho, you also asked a question about Annie, and yes, she does become a Butterfree. This one starts out with a scene that wasn't fully in the manga. I think there might have been a single panel showing this, but yeah, it's Willie telling his family goodbye forever because he knows he's not coming back. And then we see him and his sister leave for Labarrio. Is that the name of the place? Yeah, I think so. Ooh, it's really hot in this car. Next up, we have the carriage ride scene with Commander Magath and Willie. So this honestly cleared up a lot of the confusion I had reading the manga. If you remember a few episodes back, I said Willie's plan didn't really make sense to me, and part of that confusion is that sometimes the manga can be kind of hard to understand who is speaking. They don't use speech bubbles to tie down words to a character, so seeing it with mouth flaps and voice acted made it pretty clear who was saying what. So he wants Paradise to attack Marley, and he wants the world to see it. Specifically, he wants himself and the local Eldians to be seen as victims, presumably so the world feels some sympathy for them, and will start to only hate the Eldians from Paradise. I really like how when Commander Magath brings up the amount of civilian casualties, Willie reminds him that, he's been, throwing Eldians at bullets for years, and he hasn't felt bad then, really. So and most of the deaths here, most of the civilian deaths are going to be Eldian. Magath is obviously a little upset by that thought because in the previous episode, it seems he does have some sympathy for the Eldians, and it appears Willie does too in here. And that was one thing that I was always confused by. I didn't know if Willie didn't necessarily see himself as an Eldian, but it appears he actually does want to help the ones that at least aren't on the island. Or maybe he wants to help all of them, and he just, he's willing to sacrifice the ones on the island because that's what he's got to do to change how the world sees them. But he does mention that he's been trying to improve the world's view of Eldians for years, which I thought was interesting. An interesting little tidbit, Willie mentions that there are people inside Marley's military, and also foreign nations conspiring with Paradise, but they aren't aware of who yet. Well, we know who one of those is. Motherfucking Falco! And then, I really like how the scene ended with Magath saying something to the effect of it is true, the Eldians are truly the spawn of the devil. But we too are devils, as he shakes hands with Willie. I thought that was a pretty powerful scene, because he does care, I guess. But yeah, so then that jump cuts to Eren's creepy Attack Titan scream, as he eats Willie and then turns to give the audience the most disturbing look ever. And cue the intro music. Oh, hey, really glad you turned around on the intro, Bill, as I think the music and imagery are both really good. But yeah, so Eren's attack titan looks like really different in that scene to me. Like he's got like pointy teeth now. For some reason, one eye is glowing and the other one's not. I don't know if that has something to do with the fact that Eren was missing an eye, or like maybe his eye got damaged, or maybe they just thought that would look cooler. I'm not really sure. Anyways, next up, Eren just starts wrecking shit. We see him slam into the area where Marley's military is sitting. Everyone there is freaking out except for that one general we saw in Midnight Train. Bill probably missed him completely, but yeah, he does not flinch at all. And I'm curious if it's because he knew the plan and sort of expected to die, or maybe he was just frozen with fear. Not really sure. Next, we see that Zofia is dead. She was killed by rubble from the building Eren transformed in, and then Udo? I think it's Udo. He gets trampled by the fleeing crowds, and I am reminded why I totally did not remember these two kids from the manga at all. It's because they died years ago. I did find their deaths touching, though, in this episode, and it definitely helped sell the horrific nature of Eren's actions. In the manga, there is this one really good panel that didn't get exactly shown well in the anime that I kind of wish it did. So in this panel, there's this family and they're watching Willie's play go on, and Eren's doing the transformation, but like they don't know that's happening, and you can just see this crack growing beneath them, and like they're just sitting in this window, like having no clue that in less than seconds they're gonna die, and it's just this innocent Eldian family, and Eren kills them. Yeah, like his transformation was just so quick in the last episode that you didn't really get a chance to appreciate how many people were in that building. They did show a scene like before he destroys it of people in the building, but I just thought that was a very powerful image, and I kind of wish they would have did some slow motion effect as he is transforming, so we could see little details like that. But the two kids dying did like a good enough job of showing how horrific what he did was. If you do want to check out that panel, I'll put a link in the show notes so you can click there and see it. Next, we see Willie's sister transform foot first into the Warhammer Titan, and Bill shits his pants. I believe he said he'd do that if Willie wasn't the holder of the Titan. So yeah, Bill, did you shit your pants? Also, how do you feel about the design? Well, once it shoots Eren into the sky on a giant spike through the chest, so he'll stop punching into the face and it can form properly, you can't judge it based on not having a face. To me, it looks a lot like a gimp suit, which is a bit weird. I was glad that, with the colored, you got to see that it does have like a fleshy underneath. It does have like a fleshy skin underneath the gimp suit exterior armor, because I always thought it was weird that this one Titan just wasn't fleshy. It was like sort of metallic looking, which in black and white, it did just look metallic looking to me. But nope, this one's just too classy to be naked like everyone else. So yeah, at first it looks like Eren has the upper hand, but then the Warhammer Titan skewers him through the chest and lops his head off completely with a humorously long-handled warhammer. In the manga, it's a bit more gruesome, and you can you could see like the bones and stuff hanging out of Eren's attack titan's neck hole, but they censored it with some smoke in the anime, which it's a little concerning. Like, it's not awful. Like, if this is all they do as far as censoring, it's not that bad. But I don't know. It's Attack on Titan. It's a show about people inside big people eating people. Like, it's gonna be gruesome. Hopefully they don't censor too much else later on. So just when it looks like Eren's about to lose, his Titan's missing its head. I believe the Marley soldiers think that the Warhammer Titan's actually won. He casually just pushes his upper body out of the attack Titan and says, "Mikasa, it's now or never." And enter Mikasa, being a badass as usual, instantly throwing and detonating several thunder spears in the Warhammer's nape. Meanwhile, the rest of the scouts show up and just completely decimate Marley's military. And I really love the intro to, I love the introduction to both of these. We get them separately. We get Mikasa has the epic intro, and then we have the rest of the scouts get an intro. For them, you just hear the whoosh, whoosh, like swooshing around noises of them being Spider-Man with their ODM gear. So while the Warhammer is temporarily down, Mikasa tries to reason with Eren's humanity by pointing out that, like, he killed an assload of civilians and also children, but he doesn't really respond, and soon the Warhammer Titan is back up in action because turns out its shifter doesn't have to stay in its nape. It's actually connected at the foot via what appears to be like bubblegum. I don't remember this looking as goofy in the manga, but in motion it looks kind of funny that the Warhammer has like a string of goo just attached to its foot. So Mikasa does some really cool fighting with the Warhammer while Eren tracks down the location of the shifter. So when I look at my notes and I see the word shifter, it looks like shitter. That has nothing to do with anything, but I'm sweating in a car, and that's all I can think about. So, anyways, it turns out the person is in a Titan cocoon, just waiting for the day that it evolves into a Butterfree like Annie. Just before Eren can bite down on it, though, Porco latches onto his nape, but can't bite because here comes Levi's big ol' entry. Levi shows up, cuts the Jaw Titan's muscles that control its jaws, and so Porco can't bite. I really love Porco's reaction to meeting Levi. He's just like terrified, and he's like, "This must be the Ackerman," which makes Levi sound like a superhero, which he kind of is. I also like that it's apparent that Zeke has spread the word about how terrifying Levi is. I'm betting Zeke has nightmares similar to the ones Reiner has about Mikasa, about like Levi chopping him all up, because that's what Levi does. So that's basically the end. Porco has most of the Survey Corp about to slice and dice him, and he's just scared shitless. He's like, how can these mere humans defeat me? I'm a Titan shifter. I really like this episode. I know there's been continued complaints about the use of CGI for the Titans, but I don't really get it. Overall, it looks great to me. And until I see anything that looks remotely as wonky as Rod Reese's Titan from Season 3, you'll hear zero complaints from me. Like, there's a few things on my second watching where I was like really paying attention that I'm like, oh yeah, that's CGI, looks a little funny, like how Eren like flops onto the Marley's military at the beginning of the episode. Like, it looks a little weird, but it's fine. Like, in action, like if you're not just like trying to pick it apart, it looks totally great. One thing I completely skipped over though is Gabby. Like, any mention of Gabby, but from her perspective, you see a lot of parallels between Eren's attack on her hometown and Reiner's attack on Eren's. Like, most specifically, one line she says is, "I don't understand why Zofia and Udo had to die," and that mirrors exactly what, like, something that Eren said about his mom. So, realistically, it's kind of weird that they use the same exact word choices, but literally, it's a nice echo. I also didn't talk much about the return of all of our other Survey Corps friends, and we get to see everyone, and it's great. Like, it's just nice seeing them, even though they're all out there murdering. But I'm sure Bill was excited to see his favorite character, Sasha. Unfortunately, I also had to see my least favorite character, Floch. I don't know how to say his name. I haven't seen up to this part in the anime dubbed, so I don't know. I think it's Floch. I think it's Floch. Yeah, I really hate him. He's a horrible person, but I guess like I hate him not because Isayama did a bad job writing the character, but because he did a good job. Like, he's a well-developed character that I hate. So one random scene that I really liked was the reveal that Peak gave the Panzer unit, I think that's what the people on her back are called, a message to follow them because Beardy, referring to Armin, seemed a bit sus. And that was a nice reveal to me, just because I know Bill thought that whole hug scene was a little bit anime tropey and weird, but I like that it had a purpose. It wasn't just there to be goofy. But that's all I got for you this week, other than, the chapter 136 spoilers. So if you want to hear those, hang around until after the outro music. Otherwise, check out mine and Bill's other podcasts, which you can probably find links to below. If not, you can find them at probablywork.com. And until next week, don't get eaten. I'm going to keep this short. It's getting real hot in my car, if I'm being honest. And I just want to go back inside or outside the car where it's not so hot. So chapter 136, if you didn't hear, we've got 3 chapters left, which is crazy. I don't see how, from the point we're at right now, how exactly do we get to the end of the manga. We got Falco with his really cool looking flying titan. I thought that was a neat design. And then we have Armin, who is inside of, he got absorbed into the founding titan, I guess. We see him and Zeke in paths. So I don't know if they're dead or alive or what. Yeah, I have no clue what's going to happen. But one thing I did want to comment on is the fact that I used to be really disappointed that we didn't see much of Armin as the Colossal Titan. We'll probably get something next episode. I believe he destroys the ships that are surrounding their location, so we'll get to see that, but I think that's the last time we see him as the Colossal Titan, more or less. The more I thought about it, I really think it fits him. It's not using that power because, he's a pacifist. It'd be weird. So I'm assuming he's going to do something in paths to outsmart the founding titan, and maybe that's how we get some kind of time loop thing, because Isayama said before that the end of the anime is not good or bad, it's just the beginning, so I'm assuming we get a time loop, but I don't know. Who knows? We'll find out in April. The other thing I wanted to mention is Bill loves Sasha, and she's going to die in an episode or 2, so yeah, that's something to look forward to as far as his reaction. But anyways, I'm going to go get out of this hot car, and you don't get eaten.
Hey everyone, Scott here with my good pal Rich. Say hi, Rich.
Hi.
And we're here today to tell you about a podcast we host together with our buddies Jay and Bill, the RPG After Years.
The after what?
The RPG After Years. Our show has entered into a new era of covering everything RPGs, both old and new. Thus it is after its first era. It's the After Years.
I thought RPG was rocket propelled grenade.
No, RPG stands for role-playing game. It's a genre of video game. Every week we go through the latest news and discuss other relevant RPG-related topics. We also review RPGs as we complete them.
So an RPG is not a rabid Portuguese goose?
No, thank God. From Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy to The Witcher and Cyberpunk, we've got RPGs covered from the dawn of time to the far-flung future.
Oh, I've heard of Final Fantasy.
I'd hope so. So check us out on iTunes or whatever your preferred podcast listening platform happens to be. You can also find us at probablywork.com. Level up your podcast feed with the RPG After Years.
Enjoy the show.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
@ProbablyWork
for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.